The blinding camera flashes on the red carpet, the grand beachfront mansions, the million-dollar contracts, and the radiant smiles in front of the lenses. All of it seems like the perfect protective shell for the classic Hollywood stars. Yet there's a pain that fame can never reach, a darkness that money or a private doctor can never erase. It's that moment when parents receive the news that their child has left them forever. No sensational headline, no lucrative contract can save them. Today on Ryan's Hollywood Uncovered, we're going to open up the darkest chapters, the silent tragedies that have haunted the silver screen legends for decades. These stories won't just send a chill down your spine, they'll make your heart ache at how fragile life is, even when you're standing at the peak of glory. I promise you won't be able to take your eyes off the screen, because behind the glittering spotlight are losses so profound that no words can describe them. If you want me to dig deeper into any other movie, TV show, or Hollywood secret, just comment below. And I'm Ryan. Please like and subscribe to the channel to start exploring the main content of this video with me. Anthony Quinn. Christopher Anthony Quinn. Let's start with a true icon of old Hollywood, Anthony Quinn. He was a guy with Mexican-Irish blood who captivated audiences with his fiery and deep performances, from heroic characters to lonely, introspective ones. Quinn seemed to have it all: a skyrocketing career, a life among the upper class, and a close family tied to the powerful dynasty of Cecil B. DeMille. But on one fateful afternoon in 1941, all that glamour shattered in the blink of an eye. His firstborn son, Christopher Anthony Quinn, who was just 2.5 years old, was playing happily in the grounds of the Laughlin Park Mansion, one of the most tightly guarded neighborhoods in Los Angeles. The boy's parents were out. No one knows how he managed to slip out, cross the quiet street, and wander onto the property of his neighbor, the famous W.C. Fields. There was a small, pretty pond there, and the boy accidentally fell in. The fire department and local rescue team rushed over immediately, trying to revive the boy right at the water's edge. But all efforts were in vain. Oh, he was only 2.5, an innocent little soul in the heart of the city's wealthiest neighborhood. After the incident, Fields had the pond filled in as if to erase the traces of that horror. Christopher was laid to rest at Hollywood Forever Cemetery, where his father's star once shone so brightly. I can't even imagine that pain, folks. A major star on the rise to success, suddenly having to face a void that nothing could fill. Johnny Carson. Richard "Rick" Carson. If you think Quinn's tragedy was heartbreaking enough, get ready for the next story. One about a man who made all of America smile every night on their TV screens. Johnny Carson, the king of late night on The Tonight Show, who brought laughter to millions of families. He built an entire entertainment empire, but behind that witty smile was a silent pain that he rarely revealed. His second son, Richard "Rick" Carson, had chosen a completely different life. Peaceful, passionate about photography rather than the spotlight. Rick was 39 years old, a quiet artist who found joy in capturing pristine natural landscapes. On June 21, 1991, he drove to the coastline near Cayucos, California, where Highway 1 winds along the Pacific Ocean. He brought his camera, as usual, to capture the beautiful moments of the ocean and the wildflowers along the road. No one knows exactly what happened, but his four-wheel drive vehicle suddenly veered off the narrow service road and plunged down a steep 38-meter embankment. Rick was thrown from the car and died on the spot. His photography equipment was still lying on the roadside, a sad reminder of the last moment he was pursuing his passion. Carson didn't appear on the show right after that. When he returned in July, the end of the show became an emotional tribute to Rick, with his photographs displayed on screen, including images of wildflowers blooming in the desert. Can you imagine it? A man who once made the whole country laugh, now struggling to hold back tears while talking about his son. That was a moment when audiences felt more than ever that behind the studio lights was a father whose heart was breaking. Paul Newman. Scott Newman. The deeper we go into these stories, the clearer we see the contrast between the glamour and the pain. Paul Newman, the icon of masculinity, talent, and kindness, couldn't escape that tragedy either. His only son from his first marriage, Scott Newman, grew up in the enormous shadow of his father. Scott grew up with the desire to prove himself, trying his hand at acting and stunt work under the stage name William Scott. He wanted to be loved for who he was, not just because he was a Newman. By November 1978, Scott was 28 years old and struggling with deep personal issues. On the evening of November 19th, he called from a hotel room in West Los Angeles to the clinic where he was receiving support. A friend from the clinic came to pick him up and they had dinner together in the room. Scott went to bed around midnight. A short while later, the friend found him having trouble breathing and called for emergency help. Medical staff did everything they could, but Scott was pronounced dead at 1:07 a.m. on November 20th. The police concluded it was an accident. The friend said he believed Scott had taken Valium combined with alcohol. Oh, it's heartbreaking to think of a young man trying to escape his father's shadow, only to end his journey in a strange hotel room. In 1980, Paul Newman established the Scott Newman Center to prevent and educate about substance abuse, a way for him to turn his pain into hope for so many others. I believe no father wants to see his son go down that path, but Newman chose to face it and help the community. Charlie Chaplin. Norman Spencer Chaplin. Let's turn back the clock a bit to Charlie Chaplin, the king of silent screen comedy, the man who made the whole world laugh hysterically through his lovable tramp characters. Chaplin's first marriage to Mildred Harris brought a brief joy when their firstborn son, Norman Spencer Chaplin, was born on July 7, 1919. But from the start, the boy had to fight serious health problems. The family only had 3 days together. Norman passed away on July 10th at just 3 days old. That same day, all activity at Chaplin's studio came to a halt. The daily production report only recorded one brief line, "Studio closed because Norman Spencer Chaplin passed away at 4 p.m. The boy was buried at Inglewood Park Cemetery with the affectionate nickname on his gravestone, Little Mouse. Just imagine a man who created endless laughter for millions of audiences had to watch his son leave before he could even let out his first cry. That was the silent pain amid those legendary films, amid the roles that brought non-stop applause from viewers. Vanessa Redgrave, Natasha Richardson. And if you think those losses were heavy enough, then the story of Vanessa Redgrave and her daughter Natasha Richardson will leave you heartbroken. Natasha was a talented, beautiful actress who built her own career separate from the talent she inherited from her mother. In 2009, at 45 years old, she was enjoying a family vacation at Mont Tremblant, Quebec. On March 16th, Natasha joined a beginner's ski lesson. She fell on the slope, but at first the fall didn't look serious at all. She even refused medical help, laughing and saying she was fine. An ambulance was called, but she turned it down. Later, a headache hit and her condition deteriorated rapidly. Natasha was taken to a hospital in Canada and then transferred to New York, where her family gathered by her side. She passed away on March 18th. Doctors concluded it was an accident caused by an epidural hematoma from the head injury. Many years later, Vanessa Redgrave still couldn't accept that her daughter had left her in the white snow. Natasha left behind her husband Liam Neeson and their 2 sons, Michael and Daniel. You see, even the most talented families couldn't stop fate when it came knocking. The deeper we go, the thicker the darkness becomes, and the tragedies make us realize that fame is just an illusion in the face of the pain of being a parent. Mary Tyler Moore, Richard Richie Meeker Jr. Mary Tyler Moore, the icon of intelligence, grace, and a radiant smile on the small screen, was once the queen of 70s television. She was the modern, strong woman who inspired millions of viewers through her role as Mary Richards. But behind the bright studio lights was a silent pain that she rarely revealed publicly. Her only son, Richard Richie Meeker Jr., was born into a family where fame was always a burden. Richie grew up wanting independence, trying to build his own life after years of being distant from his mother. By 1980, at 24 years old, he was gradually finding himself again in California. The mother-son relationship was slowly warming up, as Moore later wrote in her memoir that they had begun to heal the old gaps. But then, on October 15, 1980, the phone rang in her house with devastating news. Richie was holding a small, short-barreled gun called a snake charmer, a weapon he thought was just a toy, when it suddenly went off. Initial reports sounded harsh, but the official investigation by the Los Angeles coroner's office later concluded it was completely an accident. The gun was later taken off the market because its trigger was too sensitive. Just a few days later, Moore quietly took her son's ashes to the Owens River and scattered them into the clear water as a final goodbye. I don't know what else to say, folks. A mother who once made all of America smile every week now had to stand alone by the river, the wind blowing through her hair, her heart shattered from losing the last piece of her family. Patricia, Neal, and Roald Dahl. Olivia Dahl. If you think that pain was already too heavy, then prepare yourself for a tragedy that even the most talented parents couldn't have foreseen. Patricia, Neal, and Roald Dahl, the golden couple of Hollywood and literature, once had it all: passionate love, brilliant careers, and a small, happy family full of laughter. But in November 1962, everything changed in what seemed like a simple illness. Olivia Dahl, their beautiful 7-year-old daughter, came down with measles, a disease that at the time everyone still considered a normal childhood thing. Roald Dahl later recounted that he sat by his daughter's bedside reading stories to her, not overly worried. The next morning, Olivia seemed to be recovering. Dahl sat with her, teaching her how to make little animals out of colored wire. Suddenly, her fingers were no longer as nimble as before. He asked if she was okay. Olivia whispered, "I feel so sleepy." Within an hour, she lost consciousness. 12 hours later, she was gone forever. The measles had turned into encephalitis, a nightmare that medicine in 1962 didn't yet have a reliable vaccine to prevent. Many years later, Roald Dahl used this heartbreaking story to publicly urge parents to vaccinate their children. Can you even imagine it? A great writer who once created wonderful fantasy worlds had to watch his daughter slip away just because of a disease that we can easily prevent today. Barbara Eden, Matthew and Ansara. The more time passes, these stories make us realize even more that Hollywood never allows its stars to grieve publicly. Barbara Eden, the beautiful genie with her flowing golden hair and captivating smile, the one who made the whole world dream through the series I Dream of Jeannie, also couldn't escape that darkness. Her only son, Matthew Ansara, was born in 1965, after many years of her longing to become a mother. He grew up with a strong, muscular build, becoming a bodybuilder and occasionally acting in films. But Matthew's private life was dominated by a persistent drug addiction. Barbara Eden later shared that her son had been in and out of rehab centers for many years, with periods of sobriety followed by relapses. By 2001, everyone in the family believed he was heading toward a brighter future. Matthew had gotten engaged to a musician, and the wedding was planned for September. However, on June 25, 2001, employees at the Chevron gas station in Monrovia, east of Los Angeles, discovered him slumped over the steering wheel of his pickup truck. Medical personnel arrived immediately, but Matthew was pronounced dead at 9:15 p.m. Police confirmed there were no signs of injury or struggle. The death was later ruled as an accidental heroin overdose. Oh, it's truly unbelievable. A mother who once floated across the screen with magic had to face a loss that no magic could save. Gregory Peck, Jonathan. Gregory Peck. Gregory Peck, the symbol of integrity, talent, and classic masculine beauty, was once one of Hollywood's biggest stars, with unforgettable roles like the one in To Kill a Mockingbird. His eldest son from his first marriage, Jonathan Gregory Peck, born in 1944, always tried to step out of his father's enormous shadow. Jonathan served in the Marine Corps Reserve, then worked as a television reporter and built his own life in Santa Barbara. But the pressures of life gradually wore him down. Overwhelming work, a broken relationship, and arteriosclerosis. On June 26, 1975, Jonathan was found dead at his home at the age of 30. Authorities described it as suicide. Gregory Peck later shared that his son had faced too much pressure from every side. That pain haunted him for the rest of his life. More than 10 years later, he still said it was the worst thing that had ever happened to him, and parents never really get over a loss like that. I think, folks, when a father who once played a hero on screen had to confront a pain he couldn't save anyone from the Hollywood spotlight, really becomes meaningless. Bill Bixby. Christopher Sean Bixby. Bill Bixby, the talented guy with the warm smile who once captivated audiences as Bruce Banner in The Incredible Hulk, also carried an unhealed wound. His only son, Christopher Sean Bixby, was born in September 1974. By 1981, his parents had divorced, and Christopher was just 6 years old. That weekend, the boy went skiing with his mom at Mammoth Lakes, California. During the trip, Christopher got seriously ill. Doctors diagnosed acute epiglottitis, a rare infection in children that causes the airway to swell dangerously in the blink of an eye. The condition progressed extremely fast. The boy was rushed to the hospital, and doctors had to perform an emergency airway procedure. After that, Christopher fell into a coma and his heart stopped. He passed away on March 1, 1981. The United Press International News Agency reported 2 days later about the death of Bill Bixby's 6-year-old son during a weekend skiing trip. Just imagine a father who once transformed into the Hulk to save the world was powerless to watch his own son slip away from an illness that medicine couldn't stop in time. Carroll O'Connor. Hugh O'Connor. These consecutive tragedies make us shudder. Carroll O'Connor, the strict but loving father in All in the Family, had adopted Hugh O'Connor when the boy was just 6 days old in Rome. Hugh was his only son. At age 16, Hugh was diagnosed with Hodgkin's disease and underwent surgery and chemotherapy. His life after that became a long struggle with addiction rehab after rehab, relapse after relapse, a constant fear for the whole family. On March 28, 1995, Hugh called his father from his home in Pacific Palisades. He said clearly that he was planning to end his own life. Carroll immediately called the police, and a crisis team was sent right away. But they arrived too late. Hugh passed away that same day at the age of 32. Later, Carroll O'Connor publicly named Harry Perzigian as the person he believed had supplied drugs to his son. Perzigian was convicted of possession and supplying illegal substances, then sued O'Connor for defamation. But the Los Angeles jury in 1997 rejected the lawsuit. You see that even a star who once made the whole of America laugh couldn't laugh at all when his son left in that way. Robert Redford. Scott James Redford. Robert Redford, the symbol of romance talent and timeless masculine beauty, lost 2 sons at 2 different stages of his life. His firstborn, Scott Anthony Redford, arrived on September 1, 1959. Less than 3 months later, on November 17th, the boy, only 2.5 months old, passed away from sudden infant death syndrome. Redford and his wife, Lola Van Wagenen, were still very young at the time. He was 21, she was 20. They had just started building their life together. Scott was buried at the Provo Cemetery in Utah. Redford rarely spoke about his firstborn son in public, but in 2017, he shared that the loss was still as fresh as ever after more than 6 decades. Then, more than 60 years later, tragedy struck again. James Redford, the younger son, had lived for many years with primary sclerosing cholangitis. In 1993, he received 2 liver transplants and founded the James Redford Institute for Transplant Awareness. The liver disease returned in 2018. In November 2019, while waiting for another transplant, doctors discovered bile duct cancer. James passed away on October 16, 2020, at the age of 58, at his home in Marin County. 2 times losing a child more than 60 years apart, enough to prove that the pain never really fades. Marlon Brando, Cheyenne Brando. The next story will take us into one of the darkest and most chaotic chapters in Hollywood. Marlon Brando, the cinematic genius with a captivating masculine presence and explosive talent, watched his family fall apart in the most horrifying way. His daughter Cheyenne Brando, 20 years old and pregnant in 1990, suddenly became the central figure in a murder case right inside her father's house. Her boyfriend Dag Drolet was shot dead by Cheyenne's half-brother Christian Brando at Marlon Brando's villa in Los Angeles. Christian later pleaded guilty to manslaughter and received a 10-year sentence. The following month, Cheyenne gave birth to a son named Tukey. The case continued without testimony from Cheyenne because the French court in Tahiti ruled she had intellectual disability and could not testify. She had attempted suicide and undergone psychiatric treatment. Cheyenne passed away on April 16, 1995, at her mother's house in Punauia, Tahiti, at the age of 25. Authorities determined it was suicide by hanging. Her son Tukey was raised in Polynesia by his father's family. A family once considered Hollywood royalty ended in blood and tears in a way no one dared imagine. Richard Attenborough, Jane Holland. Richard Attenborough, the gentle, talented father with deeply nuanced roles, lost his daughter and granddaughter in a tragedy that shocked the world. Jane Holland, his eldest daughter, 49 years old, was vacationing with her family in Khao Lak, Thailand on the morning of Boxing Day 2004. The Indian Ocean tsunami struck without warning. Jane was there with her husband Michael, their children Sam, Alice, Lucy, and her mother-in-law Audrey. Lucy Holland, just 14 years old, died on the spot. Jane and Audrey went missing and were later confirmed dead. Michael and Sam survived. Alice, 17, was seriously injured but escaped with her life. Jane's body was later identified. Audrey Holland was also listed among the victims. The pain left Richard Attenborough never truly recovered. A family enjoying a beach vacation was suddenly swallowed by the terrifying power of nature. Art Linkletter, Diane Robert Jack. And we can't end this journey without mentioning Art Linkletter, the legendary host with the warm smile and the ability to chat with children that captivated all of America. He and his wife Lois had 5 children, but 3 of them passed away before him. Diane Linkletter, the youngest, 20 years old, fell from the balcony of a 6th-floor apartment in West Hollywood in October 1969. Linkletter publicly blamed LSD and became the strongest anti-drug voice in America. But official tests found no LSD in her body. 2 years later, in September 1980, his son Robert, 35, died in a car accident. Then, in December 2007, his son Jack Linkletter, 70, passed away from lymphoma. Art Linkletter lived until the age of 97 in 2010, but the 3 children he lost left a void nothing could fill. Those consecutive losses make us realize that no matter how far your laughter spreads, pain still has its own way of finding you. Those consecutive losses make us realize that no matter how far your laughter spreads, pain still has its own way of finding you. And when we look back at the entire journey we just went through, from the brightest stars of old Hollywood to the names that once moved an entire generation, we see a harsh but deeply human truth. Fame can buy everything in this world except the moment parents have to hear that their child is gone forever. They are reminders for all of us, no matter who you are or where you live. Life is so fragile. Today you may be at the peak of your career. Tomorrow you may face a pain no words can describe. Fame, money, mansions, cars, none of it can save us from those moments. But the most important thing is how we face it. We can choose to stay silent and lock the pain away, or turn it into motivation to help others to live more meaningfully, to cherish every moment with our children and family. Hug your kids tight today. Say the words of love, listen to them, because no one knows what tomorrow will bring. That is the most valuable lesson these legends left us. Not from their legendary films, but from the quietest, dark corners of their lives. I hope through today's video you not only felt the drama and intensity of classic Hollywood, but also drew some deep values about life. Don't let fame blind you. Don't think success will protect you from every pain. Live authentically. Love your family with all your heart, because that is the only thing that truly lasts. And if you are going through any kind of loss right now, please know you are not alone. Thousands of the most famous parents in the world have cried just like you, and they got back up. You will too. Thank you for joining me in this tearful and reflective video. If you have a favorite character or a tragedy that touched you the most, please comment right below. I really want to read and chat with everyone. Don't forget to like the video if you feel it's worth it. Subscribe to the Ryan's Hollywood Uncovered channel so you don't miss the next dark secrets, and turn on notifications so we can discover more untold stories together. I'm Ryan, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care of your health, cherish your family, and remember that behind all the spotlight are real people of flesh and blood with very real pain. Take care, and see you next time.